Welcome back to another episode, ladies and gentlemen. It is your boy, C-O-L-L-I-Z-Z-Y, Collis, CGS, whatever you want to call me, as long as it's handsome. You dig what I'm saying? Look, we're back at it again with another episode of the VOV show, and you already know where we at. Leo Moreno Jr. Boxing Club, Boxing Gym here in Overland Park, Kansas, not Missouri, because I'll be saying that on accident sometimes. So if you guys got any young bulls, or maybe you yourself who's listening right now is trying to get into boxing, but you take it serious. This ain't no playtime gym. You come in to get this work, hit them up, give them a call, show up, show out. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into psych. Make sure you subscribe and press the notification bell in order to help this podcast grow. I know I just jumped into that, and we always say it in every episode, so sometimes it can go over your head, but it really is important. If we want the Voices of Value podcast to grow, and if you want to continue to hear more conversations, continue to have good production like this, continue to have awesome guests on, continue to have fun conversations around business and entertainment and creativity, and just chop it up and laugh. If you want to see this continuously, you need to press the notification bell, subscribe, leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into the local wins of the week when it comes to business news. So, I personally, over the summer, moved into the Crossroads neighborhood, okay, ladies and gentlemen? And any apartment building you move into, you're typically going to have some type of, in case it's like an old building and you're in a specific neighborhood in Kansas City. But if you're moving into downtown, you're going to have some type of technology piece to your house, whether it's going to be your temperature control, maybe it's unlocking the doors to get into your building, maybe it's unlocking the doors to get into your gym or into your apartment. And with that being said, we have that at my new apartment building. And the platform that we use, the app that we use in order to like pull up on my phone and I press a button and then it goes beep, beep, and it unlocks my door is called Homebase. And if you're not familiar with Homebase, it is a smart home tech company based out of Kansas City, Missouri, launched here in Kansas City, Missouri, and one of the, I would say top 10 fastest growing companies here in the Kansas City metro area from a tech perspective. Their headquarters or their offices are located right next door to where my apartment's at, so I'm very familiar with the Homebase company. And some good news came through this week. Homebase is actually being acquired by I think they're a Dallas or a Texas-based company called, what was it? What was the name of their company?
Quest.
But they spell it in a weird way. They spell it Quext. Mm-hmm. And I never have seen something called Quest spelled like this. So could you please break down what you learned in the past 30 minutes about how the hell Quext is Quest?
X is very versatile when it comes to phonetically, it's very versatile. So, S is one of them. Z is another. The K sound is another. It comes from Greek, so
all X can be the letter X could be what is it called? Pronounced in any of those ways, like with the S
and more.
Yeah. Okay, that's crazy, ridiculous. Anyways, by a company called Quest, spelled with the X, based out of I believe Texas, which is also a large smart home tech company, if I'm correct. And the current CEO and founder of Homebase will be working as the chief product officer for Quest moving forward. The details around the amount that they're being acquired for have yet to be released, but I'm kind of excited to see what that looks like. I don't know about you guys, but I do care about the numbers. I do care to see, how much value was perceived to how much this company was perceived to be worth. And so I'm excited for those details to come out. As for national news, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even remember what I was thinking about earlier today, but it had me thinking about what we talked about last time, which was insulin, type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes. And for the rest of the world, in terms of larger business news, patients with a valid prescription from their doctor can specifically access a $35 coupon for Sanofi's, you know how to pronounce that since you're familiar with that insulin product. Sanofi's. They have a shot, like an insulin shot product that they sell, but now through GoodRx, they're going to be able to charge only $35 and it'll be accessible for this insulin medicine. Lantus, I think is the pronunciation of it, across 70,000 different pharmacies. So this is good. I know we are primarily a business podcast, but health is also an important factor in terms of the conversations we want to have moving forward. So I think when we talk about diabetes, when we talk about fat loss last week or the week before in terms of Ozempic and talking about the medications and the companies and the innovative things they're doing, I think it's important to mention. So local business news, rest of the world news covered. And with that being said, we're moving into topic number 1 of the day, which is real estate, ladies and gentlemen. Real estate. You know, I had a little phase where I was super obsessed with real estate for like a year or two, right? This was like probably right before the pandemic or right after the pandemic or in the midst of that. Let's just say 2019 to like early 2021, where I was learning as much as possible, writing a lot of notes, like literally 50 pages of notes, watching a lot of videos, listening to a lot of podcasts, reading a lot on Investopedia and other real estate platforms like Bigger Pockets, reaching out to people in Kansas City, connecting, getting coffee, just trying to learn as much as possible about the space. And then at some point I was like, I don't like this anymore. And I was like, I'm not interested actually in this at all. And I started looking at real estate more as a thing that it's good to have some baseline knowledge about for college, but for something, it's going to be something that I probably invest in, you know, later down the line once I build companies, have enough excess capital to like reinvest and try to figure out different areas I can park it. Then I'll start thinking more about real estate. But for you, that's a little bit different. So talk a little bit about your interest in real estate, where that started, why you think real estate is valuable, and you know where you're looking to invest in the next few years as you begin to, you know, create more income for yourself in terms of the work you do, and also just have more access to capital as we get older.
Yeah, you know, your interest obviously brought that to me, and I was interested. I don't think I was as serious as you were at the time. I'm probably still not as serious as you were now about it, but one of the most interesting things about real estate is it's the vehicle for how the most millionaires are made, at least in America. And yeah, I think it's a great store of value. It's one of the things where you get a lot of tax benefits from it, and it's never really a bad investment. It's really hard to screw it up. And if you do screw it up, you're going to learn from that and not do that the next time, unless you just don't learn from your mistakes. So when we think about real estate as the tax benefits, it's a great way to take the money that you're earning and offset, you know, your tax expense. So when it comes time to actually, you know, pay the IRS, you can, you know, offset that with investments into real estate and property. So for me personally, I'm familiar with all the different types of traditional real estate models. There are some others that I'm not as familiar with. I don't think real estate's really a sexy business. It's old school. There's a lot of stuff about it where you have to kind of just have basic money knowledge to really understand it, because it really is just can be broken down on a spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of businesses can, but when it comes to real estate, it really is just working with the bank or working with private lenders or just getting creative with the money and the numbers in order to make that deal work and beneficial for all parties involved. When you look at like a traditional business, the multiples that you can get on starting your own service-based or product-based business are much higher than you can with real estate. But the risk there is also higher. And when you look at real estate, and the returns are also slower. So you would be looking at like, you know, year over year, you would hope that to kind of just stay really steady. And you can, you know, invest what you've made and, you know, put that back in and increase that compounding. But when it comes to a business and taking that risk, it's much easier to turn, you know, $1,000 into $100,000 by starting your own business rather than just investing in real estate or just the stock market in general, right? So when it comes to real estate, one of the things that I think about is comparing it to the stock market, right? So you can kind of think about the stock market and real estate as both those stores of values, and one of them offers better tax advantages, real estate versus the stock market. But in terms of the percentages that you're getting back, it's pretty comparable. So I think that when you look at real estate, you'd really want to have the tax advantage in mind with that, right? If you're somebody who's really in terms of when you're looking at real estate as a potential investment,
asset or a potential thing that you want to put your money towards, to look at it more from the perspective of what are the tax advantages, less from the perspective of how much passive cash flow am I going to have coming into my pocket.
Yeah, what's my return going to be versus like, hey, I need to I'm going to pay like 3 Ferraris in my tax bill. I'd really rather just pay a Toyota Corolla instead.
Right.
So, yeah, I think about real estate investment trusts a lot. I think that those are just kind of interesting because when you think about traditional investment advice, you think diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. But real estate investment trusts, REITs, are all real estate. And, the business models and what the trust is really made out of, can be comprised of a variety of different ways of producing money through real estate, but it's all real estate focused. So it's just interesting to see that as a business model still be viable and still comparable towards, the traditional stock. So when you,
I always thought that REITs were like really more interesting than stock simply because of how you pronounce REITs. I think that Collis thinks about things from a lot just like stupider perspectives.
Simpler.
I'm just like simpler. I'm like, REITs, stocks, REITs, stocks, REITs. Yeah, REITs. I like that better. I like that. I like the way that REITs. I'm like, sounds sort of like the Ritz-Carlton. Ritz-Carlton versus like, what can you do with stocks yards? You know what I'm saying? So I know y'all might be like, that boy's stupid, but I just think it's kind of fun to think about money or decisions from a more simpler standpoint and just be like, hey, which one sounds cooler? And then spend $1 billion there. Just kidding. Don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. Continue. My bad.
This is not investment advice.
This is not investment. Yeah, matter of fact, this is not investment advice. Make sure you consult a financial professional before you make any decisions around where you allocate your capital. Anyways, so are there any massive real estate investment trusts that are like well known to everybody that you know of? And if you don't know of right now, maybe we can drop that in there later in the episode after we do a little bit of research. But is there any REITs that people, how everyone knows like, oh, okay, you can trade Apple stocks, you can trade Amazon stocks, or maybe a flip question that we can either challenge the listeners to go do some research or we can do research here shortly. But are there any like big players in the game? Everyone knows Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger when it comes to the stock market, right? And just having crazy returns over the past 50 years and just being consistent and waiting for things to compound. Do you know, or does anything pop up off the top of your head in terms of like somebody who invests heavily in real estate from that point of view, like from a REIT's perspective?
No big names are really coming to mind. I know that there are...
Did you say it's not sexy and that's why? Probably.
Yeah. And I think that really has a lot to do with it, right? It's just not as fun. It's just one thing. You're just kind of doing it a little differently versus like, you look at the S&P 500, well, 500 different types of companies. Some are in the same industries, but they're doing different things with it. Whereas you're just in one industry, just doing it a little bit differently that way. You said that, and that comes to mind, like, Amazon's one of like the biggest landowners because they have all these warehouses that are distributing. It's, Amazon's, is it tech? Is it products? Is it web services? That was a huge part of their business for a while. Still is. Is it the real estate that they invest in? What is it?
And that same question goes for companies, massive companies like McDonald's, who is actually well known. Like that's like their whole story. Like the McDonald's movies have come out, the books that have come out is the smart move that was it Ray McDonald or something like that, or whatever his name was, made, where he decided to not only own the restaurant itself and like the branding and the license behind the restaurant, but also the land it's on, and decided to launch that nationwide. So when he started to franchise out the McDonald's companies and people started buying McDonald's from him, they're also buying the real estate from him or from the McDonald's corporation that's under it. So not only are they collecting franchise fees and royalty fees from the franchisees that are licensing out the McDonald's name, but they're also getting paid rent by these people who are owning or running these franchise locations across the country. So it's like when we think about some of the largest real estate companies in the world, you sometimes can throw Amazon and throw McDonald's in that conversation, although it's not the first thing that comes to mind because of the intelligent moves they've made on the real estate side of things. And it makes me kind of wonder, like, how important is it to own the property you're on when it comes to a business. So if you're going to start a small business like a lingerie store, if you're going to start a small business like a boxing club, if you're going to launch a e-commerce store, how important is it to own your own warehouse space? You know what I'm saying? Or, I mean, I would love to eventually, if anyone's listening out there, have somebody on the podcast who is well versed in that space of helping business owners either decide if they should buy or rent, and then also helps with those transaction processes to understand like what's the mental framework they're going through to decide whether it is a better idea to purchase and own the land that your business is, holding down, or to lease out that space.
Yeah, I think at that point, like, it just depends. Like, what does that P&L look like? Oh, we got a lot of profit. We need to buy some property and write that off as a loss, right? For the depreciation or whatever your situation is.
Back to the tax talk.
For the tax advantages, yeah. Exactly. I think that's really what it came down to. It's like however the tax code is constructed, it's very focused on real estate and that development. And one of the things that I found out, interestingly, this past weekend after a little family reunion that we had for my cousin's wedding, I have an uncle who lives in New York. And, one of the interesting things about that I see around the Kansas City area is there have been a lot of urgent cares and hospitals that are being built. And what are all the names that are on these hospitals? They're all churches. So churches are reinvesting into that and using that money to, get the tax advantages of real estate. But in New York, it's not churches that are doing all this. It's actually developers themselves. So the developers are actually building all these things, and they're named after these, construction companies. And that's one of the huge things that, New York incentivizes through their tax code and their laws is the development of those things. So, it's just interesting to see like the players in different spaces, who are the ones that are rising to the top, doing the same thing in different cities and in different demographics. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if I did to double back and have a conversation with my guy. There's an older gentleman that I work out with, and he's just a dog. He's a killer. He's like in there and putting in that work. Very impressive. I asked him out to coffee to learn more about the businesses he started, because he mentioned, working, building businesses has been part of his past 30, 40 years. And one of the businesses he's been working, or industry's been working in the past 10 to 15 years, is building small surgery centers and across the Midwest, I believe. And just interesting. There's so many different interesting ways to practice business. And there's so many interesting reasons behind why people decide to dive into these businesses. But I think one thing that I want to mention also on the topic of real estate, after the conversation I had with Brittany Strome, I believe is how to pronounce her last name. She's a local local realtor here on the Kansas and Missouri side, working primarily with sports and entertainment, but really anybody who's looking to buy a crib or at least one out. So I had a conversation with her, and one thing she gave me some game on is having a referral status license. A referral status license, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have a referral status license, or if you're just a realtor in general, and say you have a client who lives here in Kansas City, right? You have a client that lives here, and they're like originally from Mobile, Alabama or something, and they want to go to Mobile, Alabama and buy a house, but you don't have a license there. So instead, you refer this client to a sister or brother agent in another in Mobile, Alabama, that works for maybe a cooperating brokerage that cooperates with your brokerage, or is just the same brokerage. Keller Williams is nationwide, Compass is nationwide. There's plenty of other large brokerages that are nationwide, but you just refer out, and for that referral, you can charge a percentage of the commission that realtor gets. So boom. You live in Mobile, Alabama. I live in Kansas City. I refer my client here in Kansas City to buy a house from you in Mobile, Alabama, because I don't have a license out there. I say I want 25% of your commission. You give me 25% of your commission, because that is the referral fee. But what people don't know is that you can get strictly a referral status only license, where all you do is refer. And something you said earlier was like, monetizing your network. You're going to be outside connecting with people. You're going to be at these networking meetings. You're going to be going for coffee with hundreds of people. If you're in the space that we're in, right, in terms of having interest in entrepreneurship, connecting with others, learning from others, learning about other industries, and we're just people who like to connect with people, we're already going to be in these rooms connecting with people who are looking to buy houses, looking to sell houses, looking to invest in homes in other cities, are moving, or moving here, and you don't necessarily have to be a practicing realtor, but if you have this referral status license, you can just refer it over, and that can be your version of passive income. So just monetizing your network. And I think conversations in the business space, the business ecosystem in podcasting is always around passive income, and this is just something I've never heard before, being a referral-only realtor. And I thought that was pretty badass to just figure out another way where you can just collect little checks throughout the year. And you might look at the end of the year and might have only made $5,000, but at the end of the day, referring for 5 houses that you got $1,000 on, you're not going to be mad. All you had to do is be like, oh yeah, I know this dude trying to buy a house. You refer it over there, boom, a check. So highly recommended for those of you out there who are slightly interested in real estate. Kind of forces you to go take that test and learn. According to Brittany, it's not that hard to pass the test. It's not that hard to study for it, and it's not that expensive. So this is something pretty much anyone listening right now can probably go do as long as you are, of age and, legalities allow you to do so. So thought that was pretty dope. That was something that was exciting, which is why real estate came up as a topic today. Let's talk about the plaza. Break down the plaza situation from your understanding. Maybe explain to people what it means to be default on a loan, which they are default on a loan around a $295 million loan. So what does it mean to default on a loan?
You can't afford to pay it, so you're just not paying it.
So the people who currently own the plaza, the Kansas City Plaza, some people know as Country Club Plaza, some people know as the Plaza, some people know as the Kansas City Plaza, is currently default, or was. I think they're in the process of getting acquired by a Dallas-based commercial real estate team that I think it has some type of relationships with the current owners already, like some type of business relationship. But yeah, they're unable to pay $295 million loan. There's been shootings over the years. There's been all these young kids wilding out down there doing dumb shit. Causing a ruckus. There's been stores who are coming in and leaving within 3 months because the business isn't good or because they're having too many break-ins. What else? There's a lack of foot traffic that hasn't been as large.
They got rid of Starbucks, man.
That was crazy. That was crazy. I thought that was because this is the story I heard about that Starbucks. The story I heard about that Starbucks is there was a time a few years ago where like Starbucks employees were going on strike, essentially. They would just do these...
unionizing.
They were unionizing. So trying to stand up and just walk out if they don't get paid a certain amount or if they don't fix these working conditions or whatever it was, right?
They want that UPS money.
Exactly. And so apparently a group of... this is what I heard. I don't know if it's true. A group of the employees at that plaza location were talking about planning a strike. And they show up the next day to like... not come into work, but walk outside or something like that. And Starbucks just shut that joint down. They was like, oh, word, you guys trying to do a strike? Say less. No job. They was just like, nope, totally took it. They just like, we not even finna play those games with you. We just gonna shut this whole joint down. So that's what I heard had happened.
And that's exactly what happened. That's
crazy.
Yeah. They were like, you're gonna do that? Okay, we're not even gonna give you the opportunity.
What does that tell you? I don't know. I haven't looked at Starbucks' P&L or their balance sheet, but what that tells me is like, hey, we doing well enough in this market. We don't really need this extra store. We just like to have you there because it looks good for branding to be in a popular shopping area. We're in every popular shopping area.
Starbucks is a bank, man. People will load up their Starbucks gift cards every month. They're already giving Starbucks a loan on all of that. All the drinks that they're going to order for the entire month.
Right? Isn't that what a secured credit card is at a bank? Mm-hmm. You literally give your money, you put it on a Community America bank credit card, and then you can use your money to benefit your credit score, but you're really just paying yourself back and using your money and paying yourself back. But they're doing the same thing at Starbucks with their gift cards, which I mean, any company that has gift cards, but Starbucks is like probably the number one gift card in the country. Would you agree?
Hands down.
That and Target.
Yeah, and Starbucks is in Target, so like
facts. And sometimes people will literally just, can't you use your Target card at Starbucks?
probably.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But anyways, I'm not surprised. I think the plaza started like falling apart when I was like 12. You know what I'm saying?
It has
and it's
not
just
been popping.
It hasn't been popping for
over
years.
a decade.
And like the Christmas little situations played out at this point. I feel like I feel like it used to be cracking and now it's like semi-cracking, whatever. There's a lot of people, but it's not popping. It's not talked about as heavily. It's not as exciting. It's not something people continue to do like every day for every year for 20 years. Like it used to be, and now it's not. I feel like it's played out. People are concerned about their safety. Managers and owners of their, even my guy who's been on this podcast, Isaac. I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. It could be Isaiah or Isaac. My apologies, brother. I'm forgetting. But Isaac, he owns a few Yogurtini locations here in Kansas City, and he owns one that's at the Plaza. He's on like episode, 60 something, somewhere over there, hundreds of episodes ago. But even like last week, as I was planning to talk about the Plaza situation on the podcast, I see his store got broken into, and then a few stores next to him. And he's talking about, how bad it hurts to see the community doing this. But fortunately enough, some of the other small businesses gather together to support each other. But if you're constantly doing this, trying to support each other to like overcome your place getting robbed and your small businesses, a lot of like half the businesses down there are small businesses, half the businesses are big businesses. The big businesses aren't making any money because there's not enough foot traffic. They're getting a lot of, we hear about this at Walmart and some other companies where so many people are stealing from the store that you're losing money. Yeah. And so a lot of the larger locations down there are seeing that as an issue. And a lot of the smaller businesses are seeing safety, break-ins, and that costs money to a small business. Like that hurts the business. Like
you can only write off so much of that. You know?
Can exactly, and it's just a constant stressor, and you can't just run around all your locations fixing problems all day. Like at some point, that ends up hurting the business. So, I think that's that for the topic of real estate for today. Let's move on to topic 2, which is our business ideas. I would love to open up the floor for you to share any business ideas you want to talk about out of the list you see here or things that aren't on that list. And then I can jump into some of the ones that I've shared with you in the past as well that are on my list. So I don't know if there's one there that you want to start with or if there's one that's not on the list that you want to start with today, but let's talk about some business ideas.
Yeah, so I think on this list we have a couple that are not necessarily like super innovative or creative. I think would be very heavily focused on a marketing angle to differentiate from competitors. But I think we'll start with the top with the mobile Shark Tank idea. So this was something we were going through the list on the way over here, and it's something that you brought up. So I'll let you lead.
Absolutely. So essentially, the mobile Shark Tank idea itself kind of just came about a few days ago. In terms of the original idea, like the base, the foundation of it has been a thought process I've had ever since I've started the podcast. So I started this podcast years ago, and one thing I wanted to do from the get-go is be able to travel around the country and talk to creatives and entrepreneurs. But that's kind of hard when you don't have any capital and you can't just pull up all your equipment and just fly on planes all day long. So I was like, what would be a cheaper option? Driving would technically be a cheaper option. We see plenty of people who don't actually have that much money, but save up just enough capital to road trip across the United States. So I was like, I could probably finesse something like that, save up enough money to road trip across the country and interview people. But I was like, all right, what would be efficient? I was like, outfitting a van, right? Outfitting a van with podcast equipment, being able to travel across the country in a Sprinter van, pull up on people at business. We just came from Keystone from a business event right now. So being able to pull up on an event like that and be like, hey, I got my van outside. I would love to interview you about what you do. Do you have some time tonight? Even if it's an hour later and I just pull up on them at their apartment or whatever, or maybe it's right there and I'm just interviewing people after people, 30-minute interviews with different entrepreneurs and creatives in different ecosystems, whether it's a small or large city across the country, and being able to have these people on and really just kind of explore what's going on across the United States from an entrepreneurship perspective, right? A few people have done that since the pandemic. They've been able to find sponsors and been able to find investors to invest in that idea and sponsors to sponsor it to kind of continue that process. And they'll do it by season. So they'll like do a 10-episode season. They go to 10 cities and then, they'll stop, right? And they'll just, run those. And then they'll do little panels and podcast events and things like that. So in terms of the mobile Shark Tank, the Shark Tank aspect of it, I was sharing this idea with a friend the other day, and he was like, you could turn it into like a Shark Tank type of vibe where you partner with venture capital firms, or you partner with incubators, or you partner with accelerators, and you go around and interview people who might be potential people that they might be interested in investing in, or having integrate into their incubators, or have applied for their accelerator programs, right? And so when I started thinking about that, I was like, okay, cool, little Shark Tank idea. Essentially, I'm interviewing them about their business, trying to pick holes in the business, see if they're right fit, and then the podcast is an avenue and opportunity for these investors, for these sponsors, for these organizers to listen and decide if this is somebody they want to build a relationship with.
I like it. I think the pop-up business model has a lot of potential. I think especially if you're going to go to events and kind of recap those events, or just use that as extra promotion. You could piggyback off of the existing audience of that event, right? Like we were just at Keystone, so we can tag them on social media. We can leverage their audience because we're again spreading their message, so they benefit from it as well, and their organization, their community still has something to gain from the content and the media, and then you're piggybacking off of them, so it becomes a symbiotic relationship where both parties are beneficial. I think a van is probably better than just like pitching up a tent, right? Just on the street, like a little more.
Although we have seen some killers on TikTok do that, where they like set up tables on college campuses and just like interview students that come by. It's typically not business focused. It's very like entertainment, wow, like tell us a funny dating story, whatever. And then it's like a crazy college dating story that goes viral on TikTok, right? Great content, nonetheless. But when it comes to business, I feel like there does have to be a certain level of presentation that matters, if that makes sense. Just posting up with a table at literally a little white table outside of like Money 2020 in Vegas.
Just set up your own background. Yeah,
exactly. I think
one of the things when I think about that type of content is like, okay, so we have like 4 or 5 guests on this pop-up pod. How many times did we get interrupted just by like people on the street, or like, I don't know, a bird just poops on the table, like just whatever nature has to offer, right? We're outside and we're in public as well. So it's like, how many times did you just get completely bamboozled by the environment and completely thrown off that you had to get just these 5 pieces that really lasted like 2 minutes worth of content for this TikTok,
right?
So I think the van provides that like
safety zone,
a little bit more privacy, but also you can still have people passing by and like poking their head in and like hooting and hollering in the back, whatever, but not actually able to like come on and just like scream into your microphone, or like.
Which we have seen on some of those TikTok videos, which, guess what, go viral. So it is interesting. It all depends on how you leverage it, and I guess what the focus is. I know that for me, for sure, it would throw me off. If I'm over here interviewing like a portfolio manager from a hedge fund outside of the Money 2020 conference in Vegas, and I'm like super nervous already, having a conversation, interviewing, and then some homeless dude like pulls up on me. Shout out to all the homeless people, by the way. But I'm just saying, homeless dude pull up on me, and they just like, boo! You just be chilling there. They'd be all so crazy shit. They just pull up and they'll be like, oh, and you be like, whoa, wait a minute, brother. Who is you? Where'd you come from? Also, slow that day. I need to throw that in slow-mo as a little clip. Whoa, whatever the fuck I just did. Anyways, crazy. Let's move on. Pro-Yo, because I want to get through all these business ideas before we wrap the show up. We don't got to dive too deep into them, but Pro-Yo. So Pro-Yo is the name of a potential product that we thought about one day when we were I had like Go-Gurt packets, basically is what was happening. I was sipping on Go-Gurt packets for like 4 days. I was stealing them from my niece, low-key. Sorry, Edie, if you watch this, definitely was taking that from your daughter. But anyways, I was eating these Go-Gurt packages, and I was like, you know what? This is not that great for me. It's like super high sugar content. I was like, and it doesn't really have high protein, like 3 grams of protein. I was like, there has to be a way for us to be able to infuse like 20 more grams of protein into this, reduce a little bit of the sugar content, replace it with some like agave honey or something like that. I don't know anything about food chemistry. So if there's any food chemists out there that are like, what is he talking about? It's because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I feel like there's some way to do that to make a semi-tasty, high-protein Go-Gurt pack. And instead of it being Go-Gurt, which is already a nationally known brand for like kid snacks and geared towards kids, we switch it to Pro-Yo. Or Profusion, and it's geared towards athletes. So we see a lot of runners with their little gels, little carbohydrate gels to kind of replenish glycogen throughout their long runs and things like that. But what if we had like a quick little 20 grams of protein hit for like fitness people after they're done working out, or for athletes when they're trying to replace, both carbs and protein maybe in a sitting. I don't know too much about how that might impact their run from a gut perspective, but I know that there's a route. Like you said, a lot of these business ideas are really marketing focused. It's not that it's such a grand idea or some new technology. It's really just like, hey, there's a slight area that could be like exploited here from a marketing and branding perspective. And if you were able to get the right athletes, get the right companies behind you investing in you, I'm sure there's like probably some Gatorade accelerator program or something like that. You know what I'm saying? If you get under the right companies and under the, get connected with the right athletes, the right podcast influencers, there's an opportunity to start getting capital, or at least getting somebody to invest in you. Now, getting revenue, that's another story, but I definitely feel like there'd be an opportunity to raise funds for a business like that. So Profusion, Pro-Yo, make high protein, tasty yogurt in a yogurt pack where you just squeeze and you're done.
Way better delivery method than the spoon, man. Just on the
Straight
go.
up. Like, ain't nobody trying to open, have to have. Real talk, that is a real issue for me as a personal trainer. When I get the like high protein yogurt packs and I take them to work as a snack, I always forget a spoon.
Yep.
And then I'm over here in a corner like, and it just be wild. Like, that's OD. I'm over here sucking on my fingers in public. That's crazy. Yeah. Pause. Anyways, I'm just saying. So if I just have a go-gurt packet, I can look cool while doing it. You know what I'm saying? I just like, boop, done, 20 grams like that. So that's
I think it's a terrible delivery method for the glycogen packs, especially when you're on trying to run a marathon. Really? Oh, yeah. Come on.
I think it's great. You're riding a bike and all you do is you're just.
If you do it, you're like squeezing it, right? You ever squeezed a Go-Gurt? How much of that is still left in there, man? You're probably getting.
Well, if we're still speaking about Pro-Yo and like that as implementation method, for sure, for some protein. But what I'm saying is with those glycogen packs, if you see them, they've made them good enough for you to squeeze and get it all out, because it's not a lot. First and foremost, they're like these small packets that you're supposed to hit intermittently.
I don't know, man. I've watched Tour de France. I've seen some guy reach behind his back trying to grab that thing, and then he's like trying to rip it over, and then like he's about to crash into like 4 other dudes on the side of a cliff. Like, I don't know, not ideal. Not ideal is all I'm saying.
I feel you. Pro-Yo.
But for Pro-Yo, you just had to work out. You're just trying to get that extra protein. Yeah, you got 2 hands. I mean, as long as you didn't kill your arms that day, you'll be good.
Rate it for me. U.S. Mobile Shark Tank, 1 out of 5. Go.
I would give it a 5.
Okay, yeah. Pro-Yo, 1 out of 5. Go.
I would give it a 3.5.
That's a 3. He almost said 3. Let's jump into what we talked about yesterday, which I actually love this idea. I feel like nobody's doing it.
I forgot about Pro-Yo, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Beat for athletes. You break this one down. You do the talking on this one. Cram beat for athletes.
You want me to talk about?
I want you to talk about the idea, and then I'll break down why, like why it's beneficial for athletes.
Why the cranberries came up, or just like overall?
Yeah, you don't got to drop that part.
I didn't think so.
Actually, no. You know what? We was talking about UTIs and how cranberry juice can be beneficial to reducing inflammation and helping with that process. And then beet juice came up because we was talking about the benefits for also sexual health and the blood flow aspect, to get blood flow through your system, which you could imagine could help with some things for some of you men out there that need that juice. You dig what I'm saying? So we were thinking about, for athletes, beet juice is also really good for transporting, I believe, oxygen, and then again, just overall blood flow, and very useful for runners. Or they've shown it to be potentially useful for runners. And then obviously same idea with the cranberries, potentially useful for some of the inflammation benefits and some other benefits. So we were thinking about how both of those kind of taste nasty anyways, so in my humble opinion, and the color is the same. So what if we combined the two into one product and called it Cram Beat? Sounds really ugly. I'm sure there could be a better name for that, but for now, Cram Beat. And it's specific for athletes to improve blood flow and just sell it as like a product, like kind of like how Jesse Itzler did for coconut juice, right? Or coconut water, where it's like he saw a lot of runners at like some 100-miler drinking a lot of coconut water. He's like, there's room in the space for this. And I feel like I've seen a lot of runners using beet juice. If we add cranberries in there for the inflammation, effect, I feel like combining those and selling to the athlete community around reducing inflammation and improving blood flow, that there's a market there. And it goes back to what you said again at the beginning, where it's really just a marketing play.
It really is, man. I think if you get a good formula dialed in and you can just ramp up all the health benefits of that and market that to people, I think people would actually like it. I think that the tartness of the cranberry and the earthiness of the beet could make a pretty decent combination. You might have to throw a little apple juice in there, maybe some carrot, some in there to just kind of like spice it up. Or if you really wanted to like actually make it kind of spicy, just a little bit of ginger, and get the antioxidants from that as well. Like, could definitely be some different angles. I don't know if that kind of, the sweetness of the apple kind of negates some of the other health benefits, at least maybe from a UTI perspective, maybe not that beneficial there. But again, if we're going for cranberry juice, like it's really more to be preventative of getting them in the first place, not actually to treat
reduce,
them.
Right, treat, yeah. Exactly. And I think from a marketing perspective, like if we just think about cranberry juice, like it's like, well, there's plenty of juiceries out there that probably already do that. It's like we're not trying to attack that market. We're not looking for the health conscious consumer in LA, like that's 21 years old with like that drinks pumpkin spice lattes that comes in for her little cranberry juice. We're looking for athletes looking to improve performance or improve recovery and attacking that area and then making sure the packaging matches up with that. So if we have any food or drink chemists out there or any people who are in the consumables industry and you guys want to help us like hash that idea out, we're down for it. So
we got farther with that one, and this was only just yesterday that it came to be, but way farther with that than we did Proyo. So
facts. And let's go ahead and throw the caffeine lemonade. I want you to talk about that really quick, and then we'll move to the next business idea.
Yeah, so the caffeine lemonade was like, man, I struggle with coffee, so it's really acidic. I don't vibe with it very well, but I need the caffeine. So I kind of switched over to caffeine pills as like I just take it with my allergy meds, and like I'm good to go. But it's like still like I kind of like the drink mechanism for delivery, primal, right? Like just very like I get the benefit of like this experience of taste. So I was like, man, what would be a good like thing I could have in the morning? And I was like, well, orange juice would be really good, but caffeinated orange juice is I don't really know. Like, are people really drinking orange juice like all the time? Like, not really. It's more of just a breakfast thing. You're not gonna have orange juice with dinner. Like this, that doesn't really.
That's crazy. Yeah, if any of y'all doing that out there, you can stop watching the show now.
Just click. So
unsubscribe. We don't.
Yeah. So the other alternative would be like lemonade. I was like, caffeinated lemonade. Like, there's actually a company that's doing this already.
Similarly, not necessarily with the caffeine. If we're talking about the same thing.
What are you talking about?
No, you go.
I'm talking about Panera Bread.
Okay, haven't heard of this. Okay.
Yeah. So Panera actually, man, this stuff is crazy. I think there's like 250 milligrams of caffeine or something ridiculous in this energized lemonade that you can get at Panera Bread.
Wow.
Just like enough to induce a heart attack, like a lethal amount of caffeine. No questions.
We're talking about double to bang energy. We're talking about bang energy.
I'm talking like 4 espresso shots just straight to the head. Like just absolutely insane. And I was like, man, people really love this stuff. But we're not trying to induce heart attacks. We're trying to create a, drink.
A performance enhancement.
Yeah, really. Just something to give you a little bit of a boost, but that's not like a traditional energy drink.
Right.
Because all these energy drinks, they put other additives in there to kind of like, again, boost that alertness. Mm-hmm. That's a ton of sugar as well. And I'm like, I'm not really like that, with that. And all the sugars are like artificial sugars.
Right.
Where if you just did like a naturally sweetened lemonade with like, some cane sugar or some raw sugar, and then, put a little bit of caffeine in it, I think you would have like a much more broader appeal to people that are just trying to get that hit of energy.
Facts. I love that. So again, consumable industry professionals, come holla at us. We got consumable ideas. Let's jump into Elite Fit Connect, and then we'll quickly touch on tech augmentation and replacement before we move on to the tools and resource today and wrap it up. So, Elite Fit Connect. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am a personal trainer for the past 5 to 6 years. I've been working with a lot of business professionals who do a lot of traveling. A lot of their challenge is, and why they're unable to hit their goals, is because they're traveling so much that they are unable to stick to a consistent routine in the gym, with nutrition at home. They're not constantly able to have home-cooked meals prepared at home. They're not constantly able to train with their personal trainer because the majority of the time they're out of town. Their sleep quality is off. Their nutrition's trash when they're traveling. Their strength training's trash when they're traveling because they feel like they don't know what they should do. And so the idea of Elite Fit Connect is connecting business professionals with basically essentially all the resources they need but out of town. So you pull up and you're a Kansas City private equity guy. You're traveling to New York City this week. before you get to KCI Airport, you go on Elite Fit Connect app, you book your personal trainer in New York City who's going to come to your hotel upon landing, and you have your session. And you all within this app, you're able to connect with the personal trainer. You're able to look up which hotels have the best fitness equipment. So some of our partnerships would be with, hotels across the country, understanding what equipment they have. And then we are also partnering with personal trainers across the world so that they can use this similarly. So it's like a Uber for personal trainers where they can hop on the app and get paid within 30 minutes. So you hop on the app, somebody books you that's coming in from Topeka, Kansas to Sedona, Arizona. Somebody's traveling in for business. They need a personal trainer. They're going to be in town in an hour and want to train 2 hours from now. So in 2 hours, you got a guaranteed $50 coming in, like a quick, you know what I'm saying? Like a quick little check you can make, kind of like people utilize DoorDash for side gigs. Same thing as Uber, Lyft, Instacart, but for personal trainers. So it's connecting I said elite, it's probably a poor name, but connecting the elites with the fitness professionals. So Elite Fit Connect. There's a few other ideas I've thought about in this area in terms of having like an all-in-one platform. So connecting personal trainers to these individuals who are looking for help in that area, but also having a meal prep service essentially where you can order healthy foods to the airport upon you getting there. And there's like a drop-off area where you can pick up groceries before you get home, or you can have it at your hotel already. So having like an Instacart, a personal trainer connection method, and a like hotel finder with the equipment you need all in one. So that's kind of the idea of Elite Fit Connect. Really, I'm just trying to attack the corporate wellness market in general. So that whole idea could change, but that's where we got over some of our conversations and some of the thoughts I've been having on my own.
We want to segue that into the space that you want for your Sunday vibes, the health and wellness fitness space. You posted this on Instagram.
Yes. You talk about what I posted. Yeah.
So Carlos posted on Instagram that he was looking for a space to spend Sundays with his bae at, right? And it's like what needs to be like very like fitness oriented, very health and wellness focused, right? And one of the ideas that I kind of like gathered from that was like maybe you just like take like an entire warehouse, right? Like a Costco or a Sam's Club style place. And instead of like actually having like all these, individual products there, you actually have like sales representatives that are there with the product, but all the products are health tech products. So you've got Oura rings, you've got Peloton bikes, you've got full body vibration machines, you've got Whoop watches, you've got, cold plunge machines, like saunas, infrared, whatever it is, right? You've got all these different types of machines that people can use and actually like, provide a more tangible experience, but also like a guided experience, right? So like, here's the benefits of it. Like you could actually experience it firsthand, and maybe there's like a small nominal fee, and like you get some things included with that. Like it comes with a protein shake, and you get 30 minutes in this machine or 10 minutes in that one or whatever it is, right? Just so people feel like they're getting the value, but also to like help offset the costs of all these people. And then you just collect a small commission fee, or you get a fee from all these people for having like renting that space, as well.
Right.
So I think that would be great.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think having workshops or cohorts, things of that nature, where we have corporate wellness teams or corporate teams come in for like basically an infusion in wellness. Like these are some different resources you can use. These are some different products you can implement into your headquarters, into your office space to kind of help improve the wellness of your employees. And that's going to help improve absenteeism. It's going to help improve morale. It's going to help improve productivity. So that's really the idea and kind of like where our thoughts are going from a Elite Fit Connect corporate wellness industry perspective. And shout out Nasir Chris, who I had on 3 episodes ago. He kind of encouraged me to like really, take some active measures to learn more about the venture capital space. And so I'm currently working on an investment thesis around corporate wellness in general. It's going shit. It's going terrible, but I'm working on it nonetheless. And it's kind of helping me explore that industry and at least get the practice of understanding what, VC principals are looking at before they go and allocate a check towards these companies. So it's been fun. Tech augmentation versus tech replacement. So really what this idea is about is I was listening to a podcast and I was talking about this dude's dad, right? This dude's dad used to use this parking structure or whatever in his small town all the time, but they changed it up. They changed it from parking ticket booths to just the app where you like book your spot. It tells you what spot you go to and you do everything on the app. Dude's 85 years old. His dad's like 85 years old. Doesn't know how to use the app. Ends up not being able to park anywhere. Park somewhere or wherever he could because he didn't know what to do. Car gets towed. Dude's suffering. And then you can kind of think about this whole population of people who doesn't understand technology. And so when you totally replace common day things with new technology or AI, and you totally replace what it used to be versus augmenting what it currently is to implement and integrate some tech in there to kind of improve the product or the experience, there's some pretty huge like secondary effects if you replace versus augment, if that makes sense. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the big things with that is like onboarding users into that new experience, right? So instead of just getting like rid of all the parking meters, maybe instead just like put up, some other type of post that just has the QR code and a little sign that says pay here, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's still where people expect to go, but what they do with their at that physical place is just different. Instead of entering coins or tapping a credit card or whatever it is, you just pull out your phone, you scan it, and then you just do it all on mobile, right? That would be a great way to transition that over.
Which they have done if we think about the past 10 years, which has been smart, that they're like easing the barcodes in where you can pay here, the pay here signs, and you scan the barcode, put in your license plate all in one place, and you can pay there through your phone. I know for sure they have that around Messenger Coffee and some other neighborhoods throughout Kansas City. But then they also have just straight up parking meters where you can just pull up, and it's still advanced, a new advanced type of thing where you just literally take a photo and it like auto goes to the system, and then you press pay, and it's like a lot quicker. But I like how they're augmenting versus completely replacing, because a lot of people aren't ready. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely say it's the older population who's like learning about technology. But I think one thing Boss said the other day is it is really cute and awesome to see like older people talking about up and coming technology. So she was talking about how she heard like an 80-year-old woman, in the changing room at her job talking about ChatGPT and how she thought it was funny.
Wow, that's like the oldest person I've heard.
But that's like pretty badass. And I've heard it too. Plenty of old people at like restaurants just like, have you heard about this new ChatGPT thing? And it's like they're still way behind the curve of where you might be in terms of understanding how the platform works, how to build frameworks, how to do this, like how to build out prompts, how to utilize these prompts to get what you're looking for. They're not there yet, but they know the idea. So the same idea of like parking structures or any other type of technology. Yeah, they know what an app is. Yeah, they have an iPhone, but they may not be quite ready to just go out there and figure it out on their own in terms of how to adjust to this new life. So just making sure we consider everyone in the user experience, consider everyone in the user, the creation of a product when we are making tech products, except if it's directly, targeted at a specific market, like 18 to 20-year-olds thing. You don't really need to think about a 70-year-old when we're making Snapchat. But
absolutely,
you know what I'm saying.
I think a lot of times people, when they want to enable tech and everything, they just want tech to do as much as it possibly can. Mm-hmm. It's like, yes, you could implement technology here and get it done, but like it's just kind of one of those things where when it comes to marketing, and you can really add that human touch to add that little bit of nuance that really drives like that luxury experience. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't get like, a text message. Somebody left me like a FaceTime voicemail, because you can do that now, right? Like that's such a great human touch point to where it's like, oh, that was a real person that like took their time to do that, and like they represent this company, and like they're familiar with my account, and they said my name, and they addressed my specific situation, rather than just like a text message where we all know that these are all placeholder values that they're just being plugged in from the system, because they have that data, right? So it's just really interesting to like think about when you're building a system that's automated, think about where the most valuable touch points are that humans can spend as little time as possible, but also provide the most value to enhance that experience overall, and just make your customers happy and differentiate yourselves from your competitors.
I think one future that has been like A1, 10 out of 10 in that area, which you just mentioned, is the ability to send voice messages. I think that has been a super powerful feature that I believe, iPhones originally integrated into the text messaging platform, and then also Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram. Some of these other messaging first platforms have integrated that voice message instead of they went from text to voice messages. Yeah. And I think that is a feature that is used heavily, and also is an amazing human touch point that has made the experience of communicating digitally that much better.
Absolutely.
Let's dive into Soul Machine and wrap it up.
Yeah, so Soul Machine, kind of bouncing off that like augmentation, right? Soul Machine is kind of taking ChatGPT to another level in terms of...
Quickly, what is ChatGPT for anybody who doesn't know?
ChatGPT is the foundation of pretty much every single AI generative product that you see. So generative text, not so much generative images. They have a couple of different competitors. They're one of the major players, but they are like the monopoly on generative AI for text. And all these products that you see for copywriting and sales emails and marketing copy and all that stuff are built off of the GPT in the back end. So Chat GPTs, generative pre-trained transformer.
Shout out Sam Altman.
So great guy. I think AI is definitely in good hands with him being as the leader. But so we're taking with soulmachines.com, we are taking ChatGPT's chat-like interface. You can literally ask it questions like you're just chatting with an automated chatbot, but it does a really good job of providing more natural language to people and actually really addressing some of the more nuances in their questions. I think it does a lot of things better than Google does. But I think that Google is a lot better for like more research focused things because you can get multiple results. Whereas like you're looking for like a specific piece of data or you're looking to just get like a recipe and you don't want to like scroll through like, 30 pages of like ads and all these pop-ups and stuff. Like you can just get the recipe generated for you right there. And that'll be good enough for most people. So anyway, when you're was one of the things we talked about last time was a GPT chatbot, and you could train it on all of your data and stuff, right? Well, you can actually take this a step further with Soul Machine and create a digital avatar. So they actually made a copy of Carmelo Anthony. And you can go in there and customize the way it looks. You can customize the hair, the eyes, the eyebrows, nose, ears, mouth, all of it, and make it like look however you want it to. And then you can train it on your voice. So you can say, this is how I want it to sound. And then you can say, hey, okay, this is the data that it's trained on. And it will actually like people be able to like ask questions in it. And then it will literally also display the text of what it's saying, but also pronounce those words in that voice back to the customer. So it's incredible.
Speaking of quote unquote human touch point again. Yeah.
Incredible.
Just like you have that on your platform. It's like, do you want to speak to our virtual customer service? They're like, no. but if they do, they're like, how much are your guys' prices for monthly personal training memberships or whatever? And it's like my face, and it's just like monthly personal training memberships with my voice are this price, and it's technically AI, but it looks like me, and it's kind of fun and like interactive.
It looks like your whatever the Apple emojis are. Yeah, it looks just like that, right? You're like, oh, I'm talking to like because you can do that. You
digital version of yourself on your iPhone, right?
Yeah, you can do that where you're like, oh, this is me, and like you can say a voice, and it'll do that. It's just like that, but you can customize it, and it clones your voice, so it like whatever answer that the GPT would like generate from your website data or your internal documents, it'll just say it. It's incredible.
That. That's dope. Definitely look that up. I think one fun thing we could do right now is, what is your favorite use case for ChatGPT right now? Like just some fun way you use it. It can be fun or not fun, but either way, interesting way you use it. I'll share mine, and then we'll let our producers go home for the night because we're keeping them for a while.
One of the things I think that ChatGPT is good for is that I use it a lot for is data sets. So I love putting a little data set into GPT and just like kind of getting it to give me ideas in terms of like, what does this data say, right? I think a lot of people like just tell ChatGPT what to do and they just expect it to do it. But a lot of times, you can tell ChatGPT what you want it to do. And if you actually ask it questions like, hey, what information would you need to like produce this for me, or what other things would be useful, or what do you find from this data, right? Like that is really powerful because it gets it to say, okay, this is what you want, so how do we get there? And it does a little bit of logic there as well, right? It's very at least ChatGPT 4 very good at understanding logic and processes. Really good at just understanding like how humans think and coming to those natural conclusions. So you can just say, okay, look, here's the data. I want to get insights about X, Y, and Z. Here's what I've already found. What information do you need to provide further insights on X, Y, and Z? And it'll tell you like, okay, I want these 5 points. You answer those 5 questions. It spits all that information out, and it's like, okay, this is how the data is laid out. This is your insights for X, Y, and Z. Based on what you already found, here's what you can take even further, and here's how you can actually even act on that data. So I think it's super powerful.
I love it. For me, it's been basically quick research based. So like, for example, the other day, I was like, what does this medication do? And then it was like, all right, this medication comes from the family of this medication, which typically is used for this. And then I was like, okay, what are the negative side effects and why does it cause these side effects? And then it's like breaks down that. And then the other day I sent you and John a screenshot of one of my favorite personal trainers who's kind of like a mentor of mine, Joe Holder, who I screenshotted something from his morning supplements. And I didn't understand the purpose of any of the morning supplements he was using. So I took it and I was like, hey, these are some morning supplements somebody I know is taking. Like, what are the use cases for these morning supplements and why somebody might take them? And then it gave me that, and then I broke it down even more. I was like, are any of these beneficial? Is there any research that's backing some of these? And then I broke that in a little more, and it's like, okay, if I had to choose one of these, what would be the most beneficial? And then it was like, here's this, it depends on this. And then, again, then it goes back to the data sets where it asked me questions, well, like, it depends on this. And it's like, oh, awesome, I'm 26 with this, blah, blah, blah. So I found that to be useful and interesting and really quick. Instead of like going to Google and typing in question by question, I can like literally have a conversation with ChatGPT where it gives me like quick, detailed answers. And sometimes if I don't understand what the fuck it just says, I'm like, condense this for me like a 10-year-old, like make it easy to read like a 10-year-old. And then it's just like, kind of like walking down the Nile River. You actually can't do that. Same thing with taking drugs and surviving. You know what I'm saying? So it's just interesting like that. But ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, that is a wrap on episode 168, I believe, or 169 with our second time co-host, actually technically third time, but we'll say second time co-host, Milad Ghasempour. So thank you for coming on the show today, brother. We're doing a professional handshake. Nope, start over. Professional handshake. There we go. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you leave a comment below, share with a friend, and more importantly, click the notification bell so you know when our episodes come out. Press the subscription button so we can continue to grow. When people see that there's more subscribers, it's kind of that confidence boost. Like, there's a reason why people are subscribing to this person, so I should probably subscribe too because they don't want to be left out. So help us with achieving that. CIZZYVOV. Salute.